Cool Hand Podcast, something you got to deal with. This is a special episode. Why is it a special episode? Because we're talking about movies today. And this is something that I don't talk about. I'm not a movie guy. I used to be into movies, or I tried to get into movies. And while I do enjoy them, I never fully indulged in the hobby of being like a movie critic, taking in movies the same way that I take in music. So one thing I like about movies is just to give a brief history with how I like to enjoy a movie is when I don't know I'm watching a movie. And I think a lot of people, I would imagine many people feel that way when a movie can take you outside of your own reality. So movies that really capture my interest are ones that tap into the emotions. One of my favorite movies is Cool Hand Luke, which Cool Hand Podcast, Cool Hand Luke, yeah. Another one of my all-time favorite movies is Life is Beautiful. Another one of the first movies that made me cry was John Q, Tapped into the Emotions. And many people don't know this, but one of my favorite movies is Infinity War, the little Marvel joint Infinity War. That movie is fire. I'm fighting for that movie. That movie is fire. But I recently saw Creed 3. And when I saw Creed 3, I'm like, this movie is hard. This movie is amazing. This is, and sometimes you get caught into the hype. Like you see a movie for the first time and you're like, this is my favorite movie. Nah, I'm about to get into why this movie is the real deal Holyfield. And for this is a special episode. And, we had to bring out the Hennesy XO for this episode. And Hennessy is all up in this movie, too. They must have paid a nice little bag to be in this movie. And if you notice something, I'm going to just by the way, there's about to be a bunch of spoilers. So I'm telling you now, leave now if you don't want spoilers. This isn't this is spoiler city. So I'm going to pour up my special drink, man. I told y'all, man, if you don't know how much Hennesy XO costs, look it up and you'll see and you'll understand why I don't bust this open too much. I ain't rich. I ain't Michael B. Jordan. So we're going to enjoy this XO while we talk about this movie. Now, this is the third installment. I'm not going to give y'all no big summary because that's not what I do. This is Creed 3. The first one was cool. It had Sylvester Stallone in it. Second one, also Sylvester Stallone. And I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. I barely remember anything from the second movie. And it didn't have my interest like that. I didn't see it in theaters. I ended up catching it. I don't know if I bought it during the pandemic, we was watching Google movies. We was using Google Play Movies. We was one of the few people using Google Play Movies. Like, it was a cool movie. The first one was like the big one. The second one was like, okay, how you gonna follow up? This third joint don't got Rocky in it. So this new one takes on a story of its own. And when I saw the trailer for it, it pretty much gives away what's going to happen. So it's not like I came into the movie in the sense of, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I want to see how this plays out. So in the trailer, I'm seeing, okay, my man who played Kang, Jonathan Majors, he's coming home. He's one of the homies from back in the day. And he's coming home from doing a bid. And like they're homies for a little bit, but then you see that he's the antagonist of the movie. And so it's like, okay, I personally, I want to see the deception. I want to see where things like turn. And so that's what I wanted to see. And I enjoyed Jonathan Majors' role in Loki. That's when I first saw him. Now I understand that he's been around for a while, but in one of my previous podcasts, I refer to him as the new black dude because I say there's only so many big black stars in Hollywood. So I'm like, okay, he's the new one. So it was like, Denzel for so long. You got Michael B. Jordan. And you got him now. So I call him the new black dude, but I'm going to put a way more respect on his name and call him by his name. Jonathan Majors. I don't know if it's Majors or Major. Should have looked it up beforehand. But I'm about to give him a lot of credit for carrying 2 movies in the matter of a couple months anyway. So Jonathan Majors' character, is coming out of jail or coming out of prison doing, I think, 20 years or 18 to 20 years or something like that. But Michael B. Jordan is retired in this movie. Adonis Creed is just about done. He's done. At the beginning of the movie, you see him finishing his last, I was about to say his last battle, his last boxing match, and he retires. Now he's on some like Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, having like a boxing promotion type thing. So he's wearing a suit now. All right. Jonathan Majors comes home, and that's where you see him in the previews. He's on the car and he's like, "What's up, man? Like, it's me." So they rekindle their relationship, but there's some weird energy between the two. Luxurious drink, by the way. Luxurious. So there's like weird energy. There's like a reluctancy in Michael B. Jordan's character with him. It's like there's guilt in his character, and he's holding back from Tessa Thompson. That's his wifey in the movie. So his man's home. He said, "I got you." He's like, "I got you. Like, whatever you need, I got you." And his man was like kind of like his big homie back in the day when they were kids, and they show you that he was kind of like his big homie, like big brother. I ain't even gonna say big homie. He was like his big brother. And he got locked. And you see that they didn't keep in contact. His name was, what was his name? Jonathan. Jonathan's character said, "I wrote you some letters," and Michael B. Jordan's like, "Oh, word? I ain't get them." So you can see that it was kind of one-sided. While my man's behind the wall, he's trying to reach out to his little dog, but his little dog ain't writing back. Okay, why is that? So he said, "Whatever you need, I got you. I got you. Woo, woo, woo." So he said, "I still have aspirations of being the champ. I want to be I'm still trying to box. I kept in shape. I was putting people on their pockets back in the yard." He ain't say that, but he's like I want to do it. Michael B. Jordan, there's still like a level of reluctancy. He's just like, all right, all right. He brings him down to the gym. Wood Harris. I'm sorry, I'm calling these people by their like real names. Forget all that character stuff. Wood Harris's character. And if if you watched the Creed movies, you know this stuff. You know these people and who their characters are. So Wood Harris is down at the gym. He's like, "Why do you got like this? Ain't no charity. Like people, like this is the real deal. Like people come here, people pay to be here. What are you doing?" He said, "I know what you're trying to do, but this ain't it." It's like, okay, I know you got that guilt because he was behind a wall and you was out here living your life, and you didn't. He did not. Michael B. Jordan did not hold him down behind the wall. Facts. He did not hold him down. All right. I'm not going to recap the whole movie. Long story short, Jonathan Majors dressed Michael B. Jordan up. He dressed him up, played him for a fool, kind of finessed him into getting a title. He snaked him. And when Michael B. Jordan finds out, that's like, there goes the deception that I was looking for in the movie. And then now you have this like hero versus villain type thing. But check this out. It's the acting. It's the acting that that was portrayed in this movie that really captured me. Now, for one, let's talk about Michael B. Jordan first. Now, there's some emotional scenes in here. He doesn't want to open up to his wife. And also, Felicia Rashad, his mom, the woman who plays his mom, is also dying in the movie. And she dies. And there's a scene in there where she kind of lost it, in the sense like she's on her way out of here. She's about to die. And she starts talking to Adonis like he is Apollo. And she's saying like, "I forgive you." And she's like she had like she's had like some sort of dementia or something. I don't know. But that scene was emotional, and he's crying. And as he's watching his mother take her last breaths, and she's calling him Apollo. She's like, "He helped me forgive you, Apollo. Woo, woo, woo." And that scene was powerful to me, not because like the acting was so real or this or that. And the acting was fine. It was great. But it took me back into a time where I lost my grandmother. And when she was in that hospital and I was I was like right next to her at this time, and my aunts and mom were in the room with me. We weren't like one on one, but she said something to me in a faint voice, but she called me Jason. Now, if you never watched this podcast before, my name ain't Jason. My name is Q. My name starts with a Q. My name ain't Jason. But Jason, I have an uncle named Jason. And at that moment, I remember thinking it like it'll always stick with me. And it low key broke my heart because when she called me my uncle's name, I realized there was the reality that my grandmother's gone. Like she was already on her way out. She was in bad condition. She was dying. But when she called me Jason and I'm right next to her, I'm thinking like it's me, it's Quentin. I'm like, she's gone. Like the reality of her dying was very real. She didn't realize who she was talking to. She looked me in the face and called me somebody that I wasn't. And I understand that, but it's a weird reality. It's a weird it's weird. And like I said, I'll never forget that. But looking at the movie in that moment, I'm like, dang, man, like I know how it feels to, be right next to someone that you love, someone who has been there your entire life, and you watch them fade away. You watch their reality fade away. I don't want to say sanity, but you watch them go. You watch them go. And that was an emotional scene, and I teared up. No tear dropped or nothing like that, but I teared up. So the acting was great. Jonathan Majors. I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking about this dude real quick. His ability to portray somebody who came home after a couple decades was great. Now, if you haven't realized, I'm not like in the hood 24/7. Wasn't born and raised in the hood. I wasn't like I don't got a bunch of homies who's coming home, but I have been around just one specific individual who was locked for just about a couple of decades. And when you're behind that wall for so long, not in the real world, it's like let's think it's 2023. So if you went down in 2003, LeBron James just got drafted. We're still using flip phones. There ain't no PS3. There ain't no Xbox One. And I know like these prisons and some jails like have higher technology now, but it's just not the same. Like, all sorts of smart devices, computer, flat screen TVs, these big, computer monitors and their touch screen and all this. His ability to portray somebody who came home, from my experience, from the experience that I have with another individual who was down for a couple of decades, it was like, no lie, it was spot on. Now, I don't know who he studied to act the way that he did, but his speaking, there was a part in the movie where he's talking to the media before he was revealed as like the big villain. There was like a hesitancy, a reluctancy. His way of thinking was still juvenile. Now, this is a grown man. Like, this is who he's playing. His character is a grown man, but his way of thinking was like, it was juvenile. The way that he spoke was a little immature. There was a hesitancy and insecurity in his speaking to the media. And I'm like, dog, I don't think everybody could understand this. If I didn't know the person that I am referencing, I would think, okay, this is still a great acting job, but the depth of his acting was spot on. I swear. It was like spot on acting. And And that's the thing, that once again, going back to like, I don't, his character made me uncomfortable, dog. I'll admit it. I'm like, dog, this is awkward. Like how he was like, there was jealousy and envy. It was like, okay, his whole villain thing, his whole, what do they call it? A villain arc, whatever. He was jealous that Michael B. Jordan, for one, didn't hold him down, didn't talk to him while he was behind the wall, and two, he was the man before he went in. He was the boxer before he went in. So it's like, okay, Michael B. Jordan, you took my thunder, you stole my whole life, you did everything that I wanted to do, and you didn't hold me down in the slightest. You couldn't even write me back. No phone calls, nothing. I needed you behind that wall, and you weren't there. Now, going back to his acting performance, now when he's like revealed as, he's this big time villain, and he ended up winning a belt. He beat one of Michael B. Jordan's little boxer homies that he was building up to get a big fight. He beat him. Go watch the movie to see how that transpired. But he beat him when it was a fight that nobody thought he was going to win. Like, he's somebody who did 20, and he's like considered old in the boxing world, or just being an athlete. He's considered old. So he wins, and now like he's up now. He's the heavyweight champion of the world at this point. He's partying, turning up, and Michael B. Jordan goes to confront him like, dog, what are you on? Like, what's up with you? Now, when he's partying, you see the difference, the way he was speaking to the media and the way he was speaking to Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson's character and so on and so forth. When he's around his people, when he's around his homies, Jonothan Majors, when he's around his homies celebrating, you see that there's a difference in confidence. You see that there's a difference in the way that he spoke. It was a little more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Maybe fluid, the way that he was talking. And it's like, what's up, man? But it's real. Like that was so real to me, because when you're like, naturally, when you're around your people, you're a little more confident. You might see me out. If you know me in real life, you might see me out and I might be a little more reserved. I might kick back a little more. But catch me around one of the dogs, or catch me like the way that I'm talking right now. I don't talk around everybody. Not everybody gets this. You know what I'm saying? So like I'll be a little more dry, a little more straightforward, a little more woo woo woo, all that. So I even liked that, how he was around his people, and he was comfortable in his disposition change. Not to mention he just put somebody on their pockets in the boxing ring. So that and then you see a turn in his actions. So now that Jonathan Majors dressed Michael B. Jordan up, he got what he wanted. His real motives and intentions were revealed, and how he really felt about Michael B. Jordan. So now the movie changes. Now it's like, there was a little bit of cheesiness in the movie where Michael B. Jordan is on he's on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and then Jonathan Majors calls, and he's like, he's trash talking him while he's on TV. First of all, what I'm wondering is, how did Jonathan Majors get ESPN's number? Like, did you have a direct line to Stephen A. Smith, and then you had his assistant's number? And then like, I don't know, that part was that I'm like, okay, this is a little too convenient that you're watching First Take live. Then Michael B. Jordan's on, then you go and call and you get on the show. Whatever. It's a movie at the end of the day. But then, and this is a part that I thought was cheesy / corny, but I'm about to clean it up, because this may be the intention. I'm not a boxer, never been a boxer. I'm not a promoter. I'm not Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Adrian Broner, none of them. So Michael B. Jordan, his character is now on some the Money Team promotion stuff, De La Hoya Promotions. His job is on some Don King type stuff. So this is why I'm giving this scene a way out when he's at ESPN and he says, I challenge you to the belt. La 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 la. It sounds like it sounds real. It sounds scripted. But when I thought about it, I'm like, well, that's what he's on the show for. That's what Michael B. Jordan or Adonis, his character, is on First Take for, to promote, because he's become a promoter. He's become in the industry of selling. A little earlier in the movie, you see him, quote unquote, working the room when they're at this industry party. So that's what he's become. So he's mixing like some of his personal feelings with the promotion. And that made me think, well, like these guys get paid a lot of money, like to create these movies. And there's people who get paid a lot of money to do scripts. So I'm thinking, what was the purpose of the delivery, the scene? But I'm like, he's a promoter. Like he's one of these now. Like that's what his career turned into in this third installment of Creed. If you can ever like buy some like anything XO, like it's really good. Even if it's like E and J XO, even if it's like the quote, the cheap stuff and it's XO, there's a vast difference. That's why I always say like Hennessy is trash. Like regular Hennessy is trash. Get the VSOP or the XO. Or if you don't want to spend that much money, maybe get Martell. Regular Martell, I think tastes just as good as Hennessy VSOP and just as smooth. I'm a Martell drinker, by the way. But the Hennessy, the XO's on special occasions like today. So yeah, and the acting, once again, going back to Jonathan Majors, there's promotion now. He got a little more comfortable in front of the cameras. Granted, it was a short period of time and you can question that, but once again, it's a movie. And there's one part where like, he's the villain now. And like he's outside, he's talking to like the media. He's like, man, this boy's retired. He might not even make weight. I was up in there cracking up because it was like like when you're like talking down on somebody, like you just, he's like passively talking down like, man, that boy's retired, he don't want to see me, woo woo woo, I'm old, he probably ain't even gonna make weight. I thought that was hilarious. Laughed at it loud in the theater, all loud. But so that was good. But also his ability to play a weirdo psycho was once again on point. Dude played that role well. I mean, well. He played that role well. Like I said, I was uncomfortable because there's parts of this movie, like I'm just summing up this movie and talking about it. I have no script. There's no structure to this podcast. I'm talking about it as like, I'm trying to go in order, but at the same time, there's no real structure. But there's plenty of scenes. This is why you have to see the movie. Plenty of scenes where he's talking to Adonis, where he's talking to his wife. And they even have a daughter too. They have a daughter in this movie who did an incredible job. Whoever that young lady is did a great job as an actor as well. But there's so many uncomfortable moments in the movie where it's like, it's like, what is he gonna do next? Like he's like a live wire. Like you don't know what you're gonna get out of him. I was just waiting for him to snap the entire movie. Like before he was revealed as like, okay, this is the antagonist, the big antagonist. It's like I didn't know what to expect from him. I'm like, when is he gonna snap? Because he looks like he's finna snap at any moment. So that's the thing. And I don't know how long it takes to study acting and theater to mimic reality that well. And my wife was saying he got to have a little bit of crazy in him. And I agree with him. Like you probably have to have like some natural crazy in you to play a role that well. So that's another thing. This is another reason why I liked this movie so much, because Jonathan Majors acted so well. So, all right, let's just fast forward. We got through that. So Jonathan Majors is going to be fighting Michael B. Jordan. So you get to the end, you have these crazy montages of them working out and all this stuff. Felicia Rashad's dead. You get to find out like the true story behind them how Jonathan Majors got sent to prison and all that other stuff. Felicia Rashad hid the letters that he wrote. She kept them away from Michael B. Jordan. So in a sense, I would imagine Adonis would have wrote dude back had he known. At the same time, you didn't hold your dog. Like, this is your big brother, and you still didn't hold him down regardless. Like, the phone, I always say the phone works both ways. Don't, like, if you're mad at me for not hitting you up, you didn't hit me up either. So I was going to say the phone works both ways, in the sense of, although you didn't receive the letters, you still could have wrote him, period. You still could have found out. And I've watched people, trust me, I've watched people find where somebody is locked up at. You can find it. It takes a little bit of work, but you can find, if you know somebody who's locked up, you can find out where they're locked up at. I'm telling you, you can. Like, it will take some work. I'm telling you that. But you can find, if you want to write to somebody, you can find that information out. So that's what I mean when I say the phone works both ways. Like, even if you, like, you could have hit him up still. You could have hit him up. So, like, I'm not giving a real excuse for Adonis not holding his man down. Yes, you can blame your mom for keeping those letters away because she wanted him to, quote unquote, move on. But so you get to this final fight. And of course, like, you know, this is coming. Adonis wins. Like, but at the end of the movie, after Adonis wins, because it's a grudge match and everything, I was not satisfied. I was thinking, I'm like, I hope this is not the end of the movie. Like, I hope this is not the conclusion, that you won, you fought this ruthless dude who you used to be cool with. It's a grudge match and woo woo woo. Cause I'm thinking, if it ended on like some victory stuff, and I wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't be making this podcast. But it's the way that the movie ended as well. Cause I'm thinking, okay, they try to like validate Michael B. Jordan in the movie. Like, you know, he had, you know, his decisions got him put there and woo, woo, woo. I'm like, no. And I'm gonna just keep it real. In the black community, and I'm only saying this because I don't see this nowhere else. Now I'm tuned in everywhere, but just hear me out. Peep this. You hear way more in hip hop, even in R&B. Like, you think like how like Aaron Hall, I don't know if they like rekindled that relationship. Like, Aaron Hall don't really rock with Teddy Riley like that. From Guy, they're R&B singers, okay? But it's always like, you always hear something about a rapper like, oh, they didn't hold me down, or he didn't take us with him, or, oh yeah, like, woo, 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 you treat the team bad. Like, it's always about somebody not helping their brothers. You always hear about that. So I was on Jonathan Majors' side. Like, there was some stuff that was unacceptable that he was doing, but I was thinking, Michael B. Jordan helped create this monster. He said it in the movie. He said, I needed you when I was behind that wall and I didn't get it. I was down a couple decades and I didn't hear nothing from you. And you was my little bro. You was supposed to be my little homie. And you went off in your Hollywood now. And let's just play both sides here and say, okay, I understand if you're famous and all that stuff, you don't have time for all that. Like, but he wasn't famous for 18 years, 20 years straight in this movie while his man was locked up. So for me, I'm thinking, this can't be the end. I'm like, say sorry, dog. Say sorry. I was thinking that. For Adonis's character, I'm like, say sorry. Like, I want to see a sorry. Like, you're not going to do him bad while he was down. Like you left him for dead while he was down and then knock him out. No, I didn't. That ending wouldn't have sat right with me, to tell you the truth. So He wins, of course. Like, you already know he's gonna win. It's a movie. He's the protagonist. But he walks over after the victory. He walks over to Jonathan Majors' locker room or wherever he was changing and getting together at. And they have a moment. They have a moment where they get to talk, where they get to talk about what's real. And what did Michael B. Jordan do? He apologized. And they talked it out like men. They talked it out like adults. And that's the part. I said this to my wife, was right next to me. And I said, once they were talking it out and they got to a solution, I said, that's what I'm talking about. Because like it wouldn't have, that movie would not have, it wouldn't have sit right. It wouldn't, I'm trying to use proper English. It wouldn't have sat right with me. It wouldn't have sit right. Whatever. It wouldn't have sat right with me if, like, he just knocked them out and then, oh, victory for Creed. Like, no, like at the end of the day, you have to own up to your stuff. They both owned up to their stuff and it was cool. And what I really wanted to see, like, this is just me at the end, because Michael B. Jordan's like, dog, if you need anything, you know where to find me. And he gets on. But what I really wanted to see, I know that these boxers have press conferences after their fights. I wanted to see them walk out together at the press conference, but there was no press conference. It like ended. There was a little cute scene with the daughter, and I think they're like setting up the daughter to be in like the next coming movies, which is nice. I want to give a shout out to the daughter, for real, because when I saw the previews, I'm like, man, forget that little kid. Like, this ain't no movie for kids. Like, I want to see the deception. I want to see the jealousy, envy, and hate that's leading on in these previews. But the daughter was, whoever came up with this movie was nice, man. I think they were nice with it. And I'm going to wrap this up, but one of the things that I can't fail to mention in this podcast is I liked that this was, now check this out. Walk with me now. This was a black movie that wasn't a hood movie. This was a black movie that wasn't a hood movie. Do you know what I'm saying? This was a black movie that wasn't a hood movie. Okay, what do you got? You got your hood classics. You got Menace to Society. What else you got? You got your Fridays, right? What else you got? You got First Time Offender with Omar Epps and Tretch from Naughty by Nature. First Time Offender. What else do you got? You got Lockdown with Master P. You got what was the thing with OG Bobby Johnson? Oh, and the Deuces and all that stuff. You have classic hood movies. But this and it's like, in their classics, they're like, for the community, this is for the hood. Like you got these movies, but this was like a movie that was, a majority black cast, but it wasn't taking place in the hood. And I feel like it was a topic that's talked about in the culture so much, like taking your homies with you, being there for your dogs, not leaving your people for dead. Being a brother. Like I thought this movie was well executed while focusing on something that happens in the streets and in the industry, because you're always hearing about, oh, he don't take care of his homies. And that's a whole nother topic. Like people who don't take care of their homies. I understand a lot of people, like you get money and you get lit and all these people come out the woodworks, or your best friend from second grade said, oh yeah, I knew him since he was 8 and he ain't do nothing for me. You were my best friend in second grade. And then you moved in third. Like, what you mean? So, but it was a broader topic to me of being there for your homies, being there when your homies is down. And I thought, and I love the ending that they were able to talk it out and apologize to each other, because I would have been tight if they didn't. All this to say, the movie captured me. it captured me. It had me in a chokehold because I really wanted to see what was happening next. Everybody performed very well. And that was the one thing that I thought, I'm like, this was like a black movie that wasn't a hood thing, that didn't end in Kane dying. You know what I mean? It didn't end with, OG Bobby Johnson trying to get his son out of the deuces. Like it was just something different. It was something different. And I feel like when I end this podcast, I'm going to think like I didn't say that. I hope people get what I'm trying to say. But that's that. So I'm gonna have to have the. How would you like the cast of Creed to be on the podcast, right? as if, yeah. But shout out to that man. And one last thing, and if you made it this far, thank you, because this is what I said I said Jonathan Majors carried 2 movies, in a couple months. Now I don't know when Ant-Man, Quantumania. I saw that movie. And Kang carried the whole joint. Jonathan Majors' character carried the whole joint. And I understand if you haven't seen like the Marvel joint, or if you haven't seen Loki, because Jonathan Majors' character was introduced, the Kang character was introduced at the end of Loki season 1. And that's when I first saw him. And I thought, this dude reminds me of another one of my uncles. And I'm like, this dude is insane. Like the way he was acting was insane. Like, I'm like, I like his character. He sold me then when I first saw Loki at the end of season 1. I'm like, this dude is playing this role very well. And now he was in the Ant-Man movie. He's the big Marvel, like I said, new black dude. He's who they're putting up on a poster. So he is the sole reason that Ant-Man is any good to me. This new Ant-Man movie. This is the 3rd Ant-Man. And I'm not a Marvel stan. I love Infinity War. I am an Infinity War stan. Marvel, like, yeah, like it's cool. I didn't even, you know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. But his performance in the new Ant-Man joint, I'm like, this dude is really good. Like, I need to relook at the word thespian, because that's the word that I want to use, but I can be using it improperly. But when I think like thespian, somebody who really studied and mastered the art of theater, you know what I'm saying? And I think this dude can do it, because on one hand, he can act as like a deranged science guy who can do this and that, and who has like an obsession with a certain thing in this Ant-Man movie. And then on the other hand, he can come out from lockdown walking out to Nipsey Hussle. Last time that I check, like when he's walking out at the end of Creed, ready to fight Creed, bopping like a West Coast dude. So it's just like I really respect this dude's work ethic, and I know that he's been in way more things than I've mentioned. Like I said, I've only seen him in these 2 films that I just mentioned, and how he really carried Ant-Man. I'm not gonna say he carried Creed, but like it was kind of like 65-35. I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm not taking anything away from anybody, because everybody did a great job. But his character made the film uncomfortable. We established that. But I'm sure in his other works that I haven't seen, and I said on my Instagram, I put a picture up of him when he came out in that movie. I think it was called The Harder They Fall, something like that. It was him and a whole bunch of other like black people in the desert or something. They was cowboys or something. And I'm like, do y'all feel like he just kind of came up out of nowhere? That's when I came up with the whole new black dude thing. I'm like, did he kind of just pop up out of nowhere to y'all? And then a couple people who have seen his other films let me know, like, no, like the spot that he's in is well deserved. Like he didn't just pop up. Like he's been putting in work, and that's a given. Everybody who, there's things that they call industry plants. Like most of these people have been putting in groundwork for a long time, been in this, been in that, been like a minor film. And, you got to start somewhere. But yeah, I like this guy, man. I like him. He's good. He's good. But that's that. Like Creed 3 is currently the best movie in the world. Jonathan Majors carried two films in the past 2 months, meaning Ant-Man and also Creed. Uh, if you have any issues, you find any flaws, if you say anything that I don't like about Creed, we got to get down. I was trying to, we got to get down. I'm fighting for Creed. I'm fighting for Infinity War. Don't watch your mouth when you talk about Infinity War, and watch your mouth when you talk about Creed 3. That's all I'm saying. This is the Cool Hand Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, I was kind of jumbled up in the beginning. I didn't have all my thoughts together. So if you made it this far, I thank you. This is the Cool Hand Podcast. Something you got to deal with. Easy.